down to what films I've watched in the month of September 2020. Now, usually what I do at the end of the month, I give you a video about what I bought in September, then I follow that by what I've watched. I'm going to do them the other way around this month. You'll see why when you'll see my what I've bought video, because I'm expecting a package through the door from Amazon sometime today, and I'm going to put that on the end of my September what I've got. You may think, why do that? Because it's now October. The reason why I'm doing that will become apparent in the video, but I'm really excited to get this title through the door, so that's why I'm going to unbox it and then talk about it on that video. So that's coming up on the next video. So anyway, getting back to this video, this film I've watched this month, I've watched some great films, I feel, and I've also at the end of the video I will give a shout out as well, and also I will tell you what was my pick of the month. Now, this month has been a great month for watching films. I've watched some real good, amazing films, I feel, and I've got three recommendations or titles of the month. I'll do like a top three of them, and them films are stunning. I've been blown away by each and every one of them. But anyway, getting back to what I've watched, and these are the ones that I've watched in order in the month of September. Okay, enough waffling. The first one, you'll have seen me talking about this, and I've got a review of it as well. I'll link that down below. And it is Lucio Fulci's The New York Ripper. This is the Blue Underground 4K release, and it is a stunning presentation of this film. The film's not for everybody's taste. It is a bit it's, sickening in places, and also, but the picture quality in itself is absolutely stunning. So if you want the best version of this by far is the best version. But anyway, you'll be able to watch down below if you want to see more about it in my description in the video that I made of it. But the short story is these Blue Underground presentations in 4K are really stunning, and I do urge anybody who feels the need to see this film in the best way, get this one. The next film is a one I watched because it was my first ever subscriber mail. Somebody had sent me something, and that was Juha Yulin, and he sent me Women Chasing the Butterfly of Death. Now, this film, I'm going to do a separate review on this film. The short thing about this film is I really enjoyed it, and it is really bizarre. It is so strange, and it's odd, and it defies description. But I want to watch the extras on it, so then I can give you more of an insight into what it's all about. At this point, I will tell you, it is one of the craziest films I've ever seen. It's a Korean film, and it was made in I'm going to blank on the date, but it's 1978. And the short story is a man is poisoned by a woman who he doesn't die, but he has this urge to kill himself all the time. And when he's trying to kill himself one day, this person comes in to sell him this thing that will make him he will never die, because this bloke will never die, he says. Well, this bloke doesn't believe him, throws him out, and they end up having a few fights, and this bloke takes all his he can't kill him because he just keeps coming back all the time. But anyway, as well, he sort of gets the mummified remains of a 1,000-year-old woman who comes back, and she says to the man, "You've got to go and kill me people, and I've got to eat their livers." I think she needs to eat. So she needs freshly killed people in order to survive, and he's wondering what the hell's going on, basically. But there's also a really crazy pancake machine in there here as well, which keeps throwing pancakes all over the place. It's absolutely bizarre, but I'll go more into that in a separate video when I'm going to review this film. The short review is, do watch it if you can. It's a really good film, and I do want to thank Juha Yulin again for sending that to me. It was very unexpected and very much appreciated. So thanks a lot, Juha. The next film was me and my wife had been watching the Hammer films for quite a while, and we'd sort of gotten off the trail of the Dracula films, so we decided to finish them off, and we got up to this one. So this is the last one in the Christopher Lee run, and he obviously plays Dracula. I must say that this is my least favourite of the Christopher Lee Hammer films. I hadn't seen it for a long time, and it's a great print. It's a good presentation. I do like it, but I don't love it like I do the other ones. Some of the other ones are absolutely brilliant, and this one I felt was a little bit of a weak one. I think there was more focus on other things than Dracula. I think Dracula was very much a second fiddle to everything, which shouldn't have happened. And but it's in the series, we needed to watch it, so we need to catch up and get this and move on to another things in the Hammer series that me and my wife do like watching from time to time. The next one, I've got another review on this on my channel. I'll link it down below again, and it is the next thing that Blue Underground released from Lucio Fulci, and it's The House by the Cemetery. Now this one, to me, I didn't expect this to look as good as it did, and I didn't expect to enjoy this one as much as I did. I have seen this film quite a few times, I do know it, but the thing that got me with this one is, and I've been talking to people in the description for this video, and we talked about the fact that Lucio Fulci has probably been very heavily influenced by The Shining, which I didn't really realise until I got that factoid off people, and I thought, yeah, it is. So I want to go back and watch this again with fresh eyes and see, how much of The Shining thing that I can see in it. Although you can tell it's got like a lot of things picked out of The Shining in theory, but the picture quality is absolutely stunning. I think it's one of the best ones that the Blue Underground have done. And again, the 4K on this film is highly recommended. If you want the best versions of Lucio Fulci's films, Blue Underground is where you need to be. So the next one we watched, me and my wife, we watched the last part in the Hammer Dracula series. And it's The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. Now this is the DVD, the UK DVD. I do want to buy the American Blu-ray, which unfortunately seems to be it's in the silly money category at the moment. It's just, these films seem to come out and you say, right, I'll get around to buying it, and when you go and buy it, it's just rocketed up. I mean, even this DVD, it's not cheap when you go to buy it. But anyway, the film itself, I was expecting, and it has a really poor Dracula in it. If Christopher Lee could have and this fella's not in for very long, so for me, he could have been and done a bit of a cameo. He would have took him 10 minutes to do it, and then that would have made this film better. But when I actually watched it, and I was expecting my wife not to like it, because obviously a lot of kung fu in it, and a lot of kung fu sort of tropes in it, we both really did like it, and I liked it a lot more than I thought. And I will be tracking down the Blu-ray of this from when I can get my hands in it at a sensible price. And also it's a pretty good film, actually. It's a lot better than I seem to remember about it, but it's one of them things, goes out of your mind and you just think, yeah, you categorize it as rubbish or not as good as it could be, and then you go back to it years later and you have a good time with it. So I suppose it's horses for courses, isn't it? So yes, so that's Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. That was 1974, and The Satanic Rites of Dracula was 1973. But that's us done with the Hammer Dracula films. It's time to move on to something else. We've done all the Frankenstein films. We'll probably be going for the Karnstein trilogy as well, which may be a little bit shocking for my wife. Okay, so the next one we watched, and this took some getting through. We were doing other things at the time, and we had to stop the film quite a few times. I don't think that helped it, but also I've talked about this in one of my 4K videos. It is the Gemini Man, or Gemini Man. Now, if you've seen this film and you've seen it in 4K, the quality of it is pin sharp, but it comes at a price. It's got 60 frames per second of the picture, so it smooths it out. But for me, it's just too smooth. It's just too unnatural, even though it's supernatural. It's a hard one to describe. If you see the film, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. The film itself could have been much better. It was an interesting premise, but I think it fell flat because you spent that much time looking at the picture and what was happening. You know, also the very strange discrepancies in Will Smith's younger self, when he's been sometimes de-aged and then sometimes he's had the different his face has been recreated as a younger version. Now, John from Movie Collector said that the rendering would have took this long, that they had to do it out to different companies, so maybe different companies had done certain bits of it, and certain bits of it look all right and certain bits of it look horrendous, so maybe that's why it was in different levels throughout the film. But the film itself, it's an interesting watch, just to say you've seen that 60 frames per second thing, but for me, that's about it. and I don't think I would ever watch it again, and I definitely wouldn't watch it in 60 frames per second. Why do I keep it, you ask? Well, I just do it in case somebody comes along and I can just say, here, have a look at this and see what you think. I like to get people's opinions on that. But obviously, due to the COVID pandemic, you don't really have too many people in your house these days. Hopefully that will change. The next one I got is one of my all-time favourites, and I got it from Wow HD, and it was only about £11, which I was stunned at. It is 1980s Cannibal Apocalypse on Blu-ray. Now, and the picture quality is fully uncut. The bit where there's a rat who gets set on fire, unfortunately for the rat, but he jumps into the water, so hopefully he wasn't burned too much. But you know, Italian films don't seem to really care too much for animal life, which is bizarre and not really what you want to see. But anyway, it's fully uncut, and the picture quality here is really good. I was expecting it to be a little bit less. I didn't know what I was expecting, actually. I was expecting a bit of dirt on the print. I was expecting just a bit of a, not a letdown, but a bit of a substandard print. But it was a really good print. So if anybody wants this one, go to Wow HD, and also you'd be surprised at how good it is as well. But it's a really good film. I do like this film. I've always liked this film. And it's in, I think that I don't know what the actual audio is on it, but it's got a really good soundtrack on it actually, and it sounds really good as well. There's a lot of explosions and sort of cop chases and stuff like that, and the audio seems to come across really well. So for me, it's an excellent buy. So the next one I watched was because I want to watch a couple of Arrow films throughout the month, and also I want to catch up on my Lucio Fulci series, which I'm trying to watch his films in order, but I had to watch them a little bit out of order because I got them 4Ks and I wanted to watch them straight away. So I kind of skipped this one, but I went back to it, and it is 1981's The Black Cat. Now, this one struck me a little bit like a Hammer film. I don't know why it came across like that, but the film itself is not regarded as one of Fulci's best, and actually it's a bit of a forgotten film for Fulci, even though it's in the middle of all his big four horror films. And to me, I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was a kind of it just had a feel of a Hammer, because it's filmed in England as well, and it had a feel of a Hammer horror film, even in its subject matter as well. And it takes the thing of this black cat that's a bit evil, and every time it goes into a scene and it looks at somebody, it makes them want to kill themselves or do something dastardly, and it takes over things. There's a bit more to it than that. That's a sort of general premise of it. But yeah, I think the print as well is great on it. So I do highly recommend you watching The Black Cat as well, which is one film that usually when people talk about Fulci stuff, they don't really mention it. Will it ever get a 4K? I don't think so. I don't think it's well enough known, but I do think it's good enough to be in everyone's collection. It's not one that you should just sort of... Some Fulci's films are a bit of a dud towards the end of his career. But this one, I think, is a strong film, even though it's not that gory, but it has got some good gore in it as well. Now, the next sort of couple of films I went through, and I did them in order of what year they were released, and they were kind of released in the 20s, and they are from the Buster Keaton sets. Now, these two here, I went through. They're quite easy to get through because the films themselves are only about an hour long. So I watched them in order of when they came out. So I'll go a little bit about... I can remember when I see the dates there what order it was, but the first one I watched was Our Hospitality, and that was an amazing film. Some of the special effects that he does in it are quite unbelievable and groundbreaking, death-defying. They're not really death-defying when you see the extras of it, and they do tell you about how the camera tricks you use to sort of get around the fact of it looking like he was hanging off a cliff when he really wasn't. But it's absolutely, well, all the films I've watched from him in these two sets are really good. I've really enjoyed every single one of them. Now, I was quite surprised that some of them, not all of them, do have a 5.1 surround sound, and they do kind of come across. I mean, there's no sound to the movies, but the music in it is quite lively, so I was quite surprised to see that on some of these films. But Our Hospitality was a great film. Love that film. Maybe it's my favourite one out of these whole lot, and it's the oldest one as well, 1923. The film Go West, which was also as well, it started off a little bit and I thought, well, I don't know if this is going to go anywhere, because basically it's just him having a cow for a friend. But there's a lot more to it than that. And Brown Eyes the cow is a bit of a star of this film. And Buster Keaton said that it was his favourite leading lady, Brown Eyes. So that's a great film. College is another one where he gets he goes back to college, and he also tries to fit in with because he's a bit of a highbrow, and he tries to fit in with the people who do sports, and he doesn't, because he wants to win the girl's hand. Most of them about winning girls' hands. In this one, The Navigator was another brilliant film as well. That was when he gets stranded on a boat that's just heading to nowhere, and him and this girl are on it. They don't know each other on for a short while of the film. They get invaded by cannibals, so that's really good. Seven Chances is where he gets a will, and they say to him, you can get all this money, you can get $7 million. All you've got to do is marry somebody by the end of the day. So he goes to his wife and tells her, goes to his girlfriend and says, I want to marry her. So she's quite, think that's great. And then he says, because really, I just want to get my hands on $7 million. So she takes the hump, and he tries to look for everybody else. He just goes to any random people to say to them, to try and click with them. But there's a series of misadventures on there. So that's excellent as well. And Battling Butler is when he wants to get in with another girl, and her family are big brutes, and they say, you're not going to marry someone like him. So it's not henchman, it's sort of the fellow who looks after him, like his butler, sort of says, well, he's got the same name as a boxer, so he is a boxer. So he gets dragged into this thing to fight this prize fight as well. So they're all great stories for me. But for me, like I say, every film in this is a winner, and I do love the fact that these films in silent. There's obviously most of them, the prints look really good. Some of them look a lot better than others. Some of them are a little bit, they haven't got the elements for it, so they've got to take a little bit of a dive in the quality. But most of the qualities are absolutely brilliant, and they're obviously highly recommend. You get a load of extras on here as well. So in amongst all of this, I've been watching all of them. So I've watched them fully, and I do recommend you getting them, because they're an absolutely amazing thing to have in your collection. The next film was just a bit of a daft one that I said to my wife, would you like to watch this? And she says, indeed I wouldn't. I says, well, just bear with, because it's not as daft as you think, although it is quite a daft film. It is 88's Trances. 88 movies, Trances. Now this is a sci-fi film with a fella called Tim Thomason, and he is this wisecracking detective, and the story is so bizarre. He goes back in time he gets his sort of like soul, for want of a better word, gets sent down to a relative in 1984. He comes from the future, and then he's got to save his 1984 self, and also two other people, their former self. And also he gets involved with a girl there who's Helen Hunt, who must be just turned 18 in this film, and also she's got definitely got her old set of teeth in, because her teeth look nothing like they do today. But it's a really, really enjoyable film, and I can't wait to watch Trances 2 with my wife. My wife had an excellent time, that she thought was so funny, bizarre, and watchable, that we do really want to watch Trances 2. I do recommend these films. I've only got the first three. I know they've probably made 6 or 7, but I don't know anything about them, as I don't think you can really get the other ones here. But I do think the first 3, especially 1 and 2, are absolutely amazing. So the next one was my let's watch some Fulci movies this month, and I got the next one on the list was City of the Living Dead. I watched this loads of times. In fact, when I watched it, I thought I must have watched this quite recently, because I remembered literally everything about it. But it's a brilliant film. It doesn't make much sense. I don't mind that. I know that Fulci was just trying to do certain things in it. If you go in with a sort of mind to just think, well, it is what it is. But this Arrow version is absolutely stunning. I do think that this is going to find its way out somehow and somewhere, probably in America, on 4K. But this one's more than fits the bill. And also, it's a great film. It's one of my favourite ones. It's one of his best films, I should say, even though a lot of people maybe can't get away from it with it because of its whole strangeness in the way of it's being The narrative is a bit poor, but the film itself I find quite enjoyable, and it's got some great set pieces in it as well. Also a brilliant version from Arrow there. Now the last 3 films I watched on Sky Movies. Now they are ones that I've been wanting to see. I think some of me wanting to see, and they just popped up and I thought, well, I'll get them watched. But this one here just came from nowhere, and it's called The Jesus Rose. Now the Jesus Rose is not a sequel, but the Big Lebowski, the fella in it who's Jesus, who's the bowling ball champion who licks the bowling balls, and he's a bit of a despicable character. He's in this film. It's his characters in this film, and the film itself is a really good film. It doesn't nothing happens in it, but it's just about his odyssey with his friend and the things they get up to when he comes out of jail. But it's quite watchable. I don't think it's got a Blu-ray release or even a DVD release over here, but if you can see it in Sky Movies, I do urge you to watch it. It's quite good. It's nowhere near as good as Big Lebowski, but it is a good watch for me. Did enjoy it. So the next one I watched was another one on Sky Movies, and it's like a music biopic. I do like these music biopics. Sometimes, if they're done poorly, which I think Bohemian Rhapsody didn't do anything for me. I found it very boring. I turned it off. But I will give them all a watch. I've got that Elton John one to watch, whatever that's called. But I haven't watched that yet. And this one here popped up, so I thought I'll give that one a watch. And it is Judy with Renée Zellweger. And I'll tell you what, this is an absolutely brilliant film. I did watch it and thought, well, that's good. I liked it. I enjoyed it, but I don't think I'll ever watch them. I don't usually watch these more than once. But this one here, I think I could actually buy it. And, you know, a cheap price, probably 4K, because it was an excellent film. And I did appreciate the whole backstory about the fact of how she became, you know, heavily involved in drugs and all that, and the reason behind it. But Renée Zellweger's performance is absolutely stunning. And if she did, I think she did win an Oscar for this, and it's fully deserved. So that was a brilliant film. Really enjoyed it. Now the next film is a one that I watched on Sky Movies just yesterday, and I had no hopes for this one at all. I thought it was going to be the biggest load of rubbish I'd ever seen, but I thought, well, why not? I'll watch it. And to be honest, I quite enjoyed it. Yes, it has got its faults. I do think that Linda Hamilton did get on my nerves quite a bit. Her whole persona of being someone, I mean, I can understand with her characters being, you know, a bit affected by everything, but I just think she was too much of a, like I say, like a bit of a whinge, for want of a better word. And it did detract a little bit of it, but I thought Arnie was great in it, even though he's not in it for that much. This woman here, I thought she played a good part. I think the star of the show is the fella who was the is it Rev 9? I think the new Terminator that can't be killed. It's like totally indestructible. I think that was absolutely brilliant, and I did like the fact that most of it was quite relentless as well. So for me, if you kind of think that this is the follow-up to Terminator 2 and you can forget the rest, I'm all right with that, because the other ones don't really stick in my mind. I do like Terminator 1 and 2, so if this just comes, I probably would buy it cheap on 4K, but it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, so I'm quite surprised by it actually. So yeah, so okay, let's talk about my top 3 recommendations for this month, and the first one is a film called Parasite. Now, the best thing about Parasite for me was that I didn't know anything about it at all, and that's the way I'm going to do this review. I'm not going to tell you anything about it at all, any part of the story whatsoever, but all I'll say is it was nothing like I expected to be, and that was one of the reasons why I liked it. Now, sadly, can you see this? Can you see that? Remember when these things go into that? And well, anyway, you've got to mutilate. So there was no way I was going to go back there, all the way back to HMV to tell him to get this thing out. So of course I knew the case was going to bite the dust, but I knew that was just one of the things. I did it as carefully as I could, but unfortunately the cover got it as well. The box ripped. It was just a mess. So I really feel aggrieved at that. But I do know it's coming out in 4K. There was a channel I was watching, and I'll give a quick shout out to a channel called Leon Talks Films, and I've been talking to him quite a lot recently, and he's just seems to have just started out. He's got a great little channel, and also he did a review on Parasite, Now I'm going to link that review down below, and this whole review here was a great review and we had a good talk about it. And also we talked about the fact that Parasite, I didn't know this, had been filmed in 6K originally. Now that means that this film can be hopefully on a 4K. If it gets a brand new 4K over here, the picture quality should be absolutely amazing. But the film itself, apart from the fact of doing, thank you HMV, I was really blown away by this film. I have heard everybody who has seen this film has just said the same thing, how good it is. But I'm really glad that I went into it absolutely knowing nothing about the film. And I've urged my wife to watch it, and she said, I don't want to watch anything like that. And I said, well, you don't even know what it's about. So there you go. So I think she will be really taken with this film, but she needs to just go in there and just not know anything about it, and you will get have an amazing time with this. And and this is my review of it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. This is Come and See. Now this is the Criterion version. Unfortunately, I got it from Wow HD, and it was a little bit cracked on the box. But I'll put that with another box, another Criterion, a lesser favourite Criterion, and but I got it at a lot cheaper price. It was about £21 in the end, as opposed to £30 or £40 over here, or on eBay. And it's region. It's an American release, but it's region A and B, and it does work on a British player, because I watched it on my 4K player. The picture quality is absolutely brilliant. It's filmed with all natural light, which should make it look a bit dark, but it doesn't look dark at all. But the standout for me is this fella here. His performance in here is electric, and anybody who sees this film, no matter how they would feel about watching some of the things in this film, I've got to say that the whole thing revolves around this bloke and this lad, should I say. He's only 13 years old, in his sort of journey through this wartime, and it's just well, I can't really explain it other than it's just, you've got to see it and you will not believe how good this film is. It's stunning on every level, and it's probably my favourite war film. It's not one you could watch every day of the week, but it does bring home the true story of war and what this can mean to people in general, especially somebody who just falls into this whole war thing quite by accident. But it's an absolutely amazing film. It's got a lot of extras on here, and you do get a up-to-date, well, sort of up-to-date interview with a young lad here who is called, if I can say this right, if I can find his name, Alexei Kravenchenko. Hope I'm saying that right. But it's so good a film, and I know everybody who's seen it. There's a lot of people who are buying it this month and who are wanting to see it. You can see a lot of people who, you can see it on their lists when they're pulling it out. I'm not surprised that people are going to be going for this film. It is stupendous. So highly, highly, highly recommended. But anyway, there's one better than that in my eyes, and that one is... So that leaves number one. So what can come at number one if I've given you these two as number two and number three? These amazing films, absolutely amazing films. So there's one better than them in my eyes. And I'm going to leave a link to a review of this, which is a great review, which does it a great justice. And it is from the channel HorrorHands, and Bryn from HorrorHands does a great review of this, and I echo everything he says. I urge you to watch that review. I watched it 3 times, actually. It was that good. And it is The Man Who Laughs. Now, I didn't know anything about this film. I just knew that I thought it was a horror film, which it isn't. It has this story which is unreal, and Bryn, like I said, he describes it really well. I'm going to leave the description up to him. But also, for me, it was just a thoroughly engaging film. I was, from beginning to end, I just thought it was just a work of art. And I thought that, I think the thing about it was, I was so impressed by how on edge of my seat I was for the whole film. And you do get in some silent films can be quite, like adventure sort of films, and you do feel drawn into it, and you do think that you're siding with the hero or the anti-hero in this one. But I can't big up this film enough, and I know this the slipcase isn't going to be going around forever, so if you want to get that one and get the ultimate this package, I do urge you to get it ASAP if you wanted to have this this good slip cover, which you can get this other art in there, which I like that the way they do that. So yes, so that's my top for this month, and these other two aren't far behind. So for me, if you have these 3 films in your collection, you will love these films, or you will get so much out of them. These 3 films, all in different ways. You know, you've got every single so my shout out for this video is going to be Tim Talks Talkies, and it's a great channel, one which I saw my recommended list, so I went and looked at it, and like I do with a few channels, and I get hooked on his stuff, so I've been watching his stuff quite regularly, and I've taught him quite a few times. He's an engaging fella, and he's also got a lot of varied content in there. He's got like things about his room, he's got things about his like hauls, he's got what he's bought, he's also got where he goes to a lot of stores, he does buy a lot of stores, so you're out and about with them quite a lot, which is things I really like. I'd like to start doing that on my channel sometime. So Tim Talks Talkies, I do highly recommend them, as I do all the people I give shout outs to. I think that if they're like-minded people, and I think if they're in our community, I think we all are like-minded people, and we're all rooting for each other. So he's another one who fits into that category, if you know what I mean. So yes, so I urge you to go over to Tim's Talks Talkies and give him a subscribe or check his channel out. Okay, so thanks for watching what I watched in the month of September. I think it was a really good month this month. I really enjoyed the films I watched, and also keep an eye out for what films I've bought in the month of September, which should be coming up very soon, because I'm going to be making it as soon as that stuff from Amazon drops through the letterbox. And also I'm going to try and do that one with the books as well, because the books one should be quite good. There's a lot of things that I want to find when in my journey through the catacombs of my garage. There's quite a lot of things that I can bring and show you, but I've got to find them first. Anyway, so thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. So you take care. Cheers.